What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Sunday, June 30th, 2024, and we are back with another midday stream here on the Torian Brain Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new, and if you are new, welcome to the channel, and make sure to hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. Shout out to all of the members here on the channel. Shout out to everybody over there on Patreon. Oh, and by the way, towards the end of this stream, I got an announcement for my people over on Patreon. Of course, it's going to be about the True Crime Sundays. I already showed y'all, I already told y'all about, like, in writing what I'm going to be doing. Well, I actually had to set up like a new little thing to go live on, but I'm gonna explain it towards the end of the stream. So make sure, if you are subscribed to the Patreon, which are a few of you that are in here, to make sure y'all do that. And if anybody who wants to be subscribed to the Patreon, make sure y'all stay and stick around for that as well. But as y'all can see by the title, we are hitting a heavy topic today, y'all. We are hitting a topic I don't like to talk about, but because we are the new black media, it's one of those things I feel like we are obligated to discuss, simply because it's just like we just have to talk about it. I mean, there's no way you can just simply turn a blind eye to something like this. And it's something we've talked about before in the past. But before I get into all of that, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here so far. And y'all came in heavy. Hacksign KT, Anita Harrell, Anthony Phillips, DSA1, Miriam R, Dimpleface, Wallow J, Rokumuro, Reparations Nation, Savion Draco, Zero, Denise Scales, Derek Parker, DSB, Tia to You, Jane Smith, Kane the Bad Guy, Jay Cage, Patricia Jenkins, Lady Messenger, Kid Gravity Beyond, Old School Ebb. Shout out to DSB for the 5. I'm gonna come back to that. I'm just want to get to these names first. Who else? Computer Robots. Who else is in here? Andre Edwards, Black Dahlia Beauty. Shout out to Tip for subscribing. Black Spider, Kazuma Fury, Lakeisha Mitchell, Tawana Cook, Don P. Ben Yehuda, Hebrew Kingdom. Shout out to all of you, and shout out to DSB for contributing with the first super chat of the day. He says that intro music go hard. Well, first off, shout out to Epidemic Sound. That's where I got the music from. Also, shout out to you for the 5. All right. So many of you in here have already heard about the story in which we're going to be talking about today. And I definitely know that Denise has heard about it more so than anything, because she lives in the state where this unfortunate event has been happening. I say has been happening because this is not just a one-time thing. This has been ongoing. So what I'm gonna do now is share my screen, and I'm going to show y'all this video that's going to give you a summary of what's been going on. It's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. But before I do that, just for precaution, you know I got to play the
Investigators believe they targeted these children specifically from a shelter because they were Black, forcing them to work as slaves.
Being charged with a felony, child neglect, creating risk of injury.
The 2 children were being locked in a barn at this home on Cheyenne Lane in Sissonville.
They weren't able to locate any guardians or parental figures or anybody.
Let me pause it right quick and run it back, because I almost didn't catch it. But let me run that one part back again.
Specifically from a shelter because they were Black.
Now you see that, right? They said they specifically targeted those kids at a shelter simply because they were Black. This is one reason why a lot of Black people are very weary when the usual suspects adopt Black kids, and we worry about their well-being, because you just never know what motives they have when it comes to the stuff like this. And like I said, this story, unfortunately, is not unique. If you remember, there was a story about some Black siblings who went on Dr. Phil a few years back, and they were basically held in the same kind of conditions that they were in, but they had them it was real run down and very raggedy, and they had them sleeping on these makeshift bunk beds. It looked horrible. Oh, you know what it was? They had them in a chicken coop. That's what it was. They had those kids in a chicken coop, and they were stacked literally on top of each other like actual slaves on a ship. Like, that's what it looked like when they went there and did the investigation, and they showed the footage of what the room looked like from where they were at. That's what it reminded me of.
Forcing them to work as slaves.
Being charged with a felony, child neglect, creating risk of injury.
The 2 children were being locked in a barn at this home on Cheyenne Lane in Sissonville.
They weren't able to locate any guardians or parental figures or anybody around the residence or the barn, and started having a conversation with 2 children that were inside the barn.
Deputies eventually forced their way into the barn, where they said they found a 16-year-old girl and 14-year-old boy inside a 20 by 14 foot room.
A 20 by 14 foot room. Do y'all know how small and contained that is? And they had no problem doing it. They went there with a mission to get these kids just so they could treat them as if they were slaves. How many times have I told y'all before that they are their ancestors? When they talk about making America great again, this is a part of what they're talking about. And remember what I told y'all before in the past? I said that any amount of money, if you was to ask them or even give them some kind of financial incentive to act and say, if you wanted to go back to those times, would you? I'm willing to bet from dimes to donuts that they would do it. These 2 did it. The story I was just telling you about the siblings that went on Dr. Phil, they did it. And this is exactly why, again, we give the side eye when these white couples be adopting these kids. That's why over there on the continent, I believe in Nigeria, they said, no, y'all can't adopt no more of our children because we see what y'all be doing over there. You ain't about to come over here and do the same thing.
Investigators say the teens had no way to get out of the shed with no running water, no bathroom.
No running water and no bathroom. So you can imagine how it smelled in there. It probably smelled like death.
The girl told deputies their parents had brought them food around 6 o'clock that morning, but said her and her brother weren't allowed in the house and were locked in the barn for long periods every day.
Now also keep this in mind too. I don't know if they're going to mention here or not. This couple also had other children that they adopted who were not Black that they allowed special treatment to, just like stay in the house. Like, they literally treated this thing like it was antebellum slavery for real, for real. Now, I think those other kids they adopted were white. So they treated them, of course, way better in a condition that a child should be treated. But they treated these Black kids like they were animals.
Eyewitness News spoke to neighbors who were afraid to go on camera, but claim multiple families called police about the children's safety several times, and they are thankful they are now safe.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty bad case. I mean, it's in any type of situation like this, it's not really comparable. A horrific condition, like, it's just not how you want or how you would even expect children to be raised or being taken care of.
Lance and Whitefeather eventually showed up at the home. They're now charged with child neglect, creating substantial risk of injury.
They need to be charged with more than child neglect. This exceeds child neglect. Child neglect, as a matter of fact, is on the lower tier of what they should be charged with. Like someone said in the chat earlier, this is definitely, without the shadow of a doubt, a hate crime. That's what they need to be charged with. Yeah, Kane, it says the neighbors complained several times, which means that now I'm looking at the people that they call, like Child Protective Services, which again be slacking on it, especially when it comes to Black kids. Reminds me so much of what was going on with the Hart family. How many times did they contact CPS before they finally came out there? And when they did come out there, they came out multiple times and they said, oh, we didn't see anything wrong. And by the time they finally said, okay, now we really have something to go in on them with, well, y'all know how that story ended.
Mother admitted the children were left in the shed, but reportedly told deputies they, quote, liked it.
They're trying to, get the children back in better living conditions, better placement, and the detectives will continue to investigate and build this case.
And deputies said a third child who was about 5 or 6 years old was found alone in the main home. And the child was found crying and close to the railing of an approximately 15-foot drop from a loft.
Bond was initially set at $200,000 cash.
They should not have had a bond. They should not have had a bond. As you can see by the caption, this is, and they were both able to post it. They should have never had a bond or bail.
Cash, and they were both able to post it.
But by the way, the reason why they were able to post it like that, like it was nothing, is because this couple, they have wealth. A lot of people didn't know that. This family was far from poor. This couple is not poor in any capacity. Like, they have 7 figures. Reparation agents said the neighbors probably weren't black. Oh, most likely not. Most likely not.
Prosecutors have said in a new complaint for forfeiture, the couple sold a $725,000 80.
Look at that. Y'all see this? This is what they owned. That they sold it, a $725,000. How many acres is this? Let me run it back. 80 acres. So like I said, they have money. You can look at this and tell they have money. Like, look at this house and look at the land. They were not broke by any sense of the word.
$1,000 80-acre ranch in Washington state and sold their Sissonville home to post bond. And they believe.
Look at that. See, they had money. They just had money, the money to blow. They sold their home that they held them kids in, that tortures chamber, in order to post their bond.
Believe both of these properties were paid for through trafficking. That will be
There it is. Paid for through trafficking. That's another charge they can get hit with.
decided in a separate court matter. But because of this, prosecutors say they found discrepancies in the financial affidavit Lance filled out for a court-appointed attorney, leading to a new charge on his indictment.
All right. So that's the video right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this article. It was actually posted on June 28th. I tried to find the most recent article as possible, so I could talk about this from a more recent standpoint. And shout out to DSB for the 5. He said, I'm pretty sure they didn't earn not one damn dime of that money they had. Right. Probably not.
You ain't gotta be a dope boy to have money.
But I appreciate the 5. Could have been inheritance. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, they had the money. So this article is coming from CBSnews.com. And this is probably going to be the last thing I'm going to have to cover as far as this part goes. Because like I said, this is the most recent article. A lot of the other ones are like from 3 and 4 days ago. This one was posted 2 days ago. And I couldn't find anything else added on into this. So hopefully this gives us some more updates. A couple arrested after some of their adopted children were found locked in a shed at their West Virginia home are set for trial later this year on charges that a judge said involved their use as slaves. Donald Ray Lance and Jean K. Whitefeather faced trial later this year after they were arraigned on 16 counts each, accusing them of civil rights violations, human trafficking, forced labor, gross child neglect, and falsifying an application seeking a public defender. All but one of the counts are felonies. Lance and Whitefeather are white. 4 children whose initials are in the indictment are black. The indictment said Lance and Whitefeather forced, threatened, and interfered with the free exercise and enjoyment of any right and privilege of the 4 children. Kanawha County Assistant Prosecutor Madison Tuck said Wednesday that while she couldn't answer questions about specific details, I would just say that because the indictment includes a civil rights violations, that there's definitely a racial element to the case. Oh, you think? We literally just heard in that video that they specifically targeted these black children with the intent of what they were prepared to do. The couple's trial is set for September 9th. They remain held at the South Central Regional Jail. Circuit Judge Mary Claire Akers expressed shock after a grand jury indicted the couple in May, saying at a June 11th arraignment that I don't think I've ever seen an indictment like this in all of my lifetime. Akers said the indictment alleged the children's use as basically slaves. Authorities began investigating after they received a call to the home last October in Sissonville near Charleston from someone expressing concern about the children's welfare. So there it is last year. This call was made last year, I believe last October, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what's crazy is when I was first made aware of this story about last week, when I looked up stuff about this, they had articles from last year when all of this first came out. But it didn't translate and go into mainstream media, but we know why that was. But now it's everywhere now that the story has now gotten some legs to it. It's crazy, though, because it took months later for that to happen. And yes, Whitefeather, like 8 I'm guessing that's North Carolina Duke, said sounds like a $5 Indian. Oh, most definitely. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, definitely. Authority, I already read that part. Sheriff's deputies forced their way into a shed next to the home where a teenage boy and girl were locked inside. The children had been deprived of adequate food and hygienic care, and the room had no running water or bathroom facilities, according to a criminal complaint. Inside the main residence, a 9-year-old girl was found alone crying in a loft about 15 feet high with no protection from falling. No adults were present at the home. A 4th child was with Lance when he eventually returned. Deputies were later led to the couple's 6-year-old's adopted black daughter, who had been with acquaintances from the couple's church. The couple was arrested and the children were placed under the care of Child Protective Services. I'm trying to figure out why CPS didn't do anything sooner. Akers ruled the bonds for each of the defendants was insufficient and ordered them increased from $200,000 to $500,000 cash only. Lance's attorney, Ed Bowman, said at the June 11th hearing that the charges was full of quote-unquote square pegs and very round holes. Whitefeather's brother, Mark Hughes of Chesapeake, Ohio, testified during a bond hearing in October that the home in Sissonville was unfurnished because the family was in the process of moving to a larger home in Beckley, according to WCHS-TV. At the hearing, Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants, referred to the shed as a quote-unquote, listen to this, a teenage clubhouse? Let me read that again. At the hearing, Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants, referred to the shed as a quote-unquote teenage clubhouse. Said there was a key inside the shed and that there was, quote, just a plain and simple misunderstanding about what is going on here. These lawyers, man. Anything, I guess you gotta lie. I guess you gotta lie. You gotta lie your face off in order to try to get your client off any way possible. Because what? A teenage clubhouse? What key was there? So now you're trying to imply that these kids are lying. But in a criminal complaint, Deputy H.K. Burdett said he knocked on the shed's door on October 2nd and that the teenage girl inside indicated she was unable to open it. After deputies forced their way in, well, guess what? If there was a key there, why did they have to force their way in? The girl said the defendants had brought food to her and her brother early that morning and that they had been inside for about 12 hours with no contact from the couple. The girl also said she and her brother were not allowed inside the house and were, quote, locked in the shed for long periods of time daily, end quote. The children were in dirty clothes and smelled of body odor, which I assumed, and the boy was barefoot and had what appeared to be sores on his feet. In a court filing, Kanawha County Assistant Prosecutor Chris K, because I can't pronounce that last name, said the couple has sold an 80-acre ranch for $720,000 in Tonasket, Washington. White father's brother posted $200,000 bonds to secure the defendant's initial jail release 3 days later, so we see the brother is in on it. In March, the couple sold their Sissonville home for $295,000. Separately, a U.S. magistrate judge ruled in February that Child Protective Services failed to adequately investigate what happened with the children, who were left to suffer at the hands of their adoptive parents for months. The judge ordered CPS to provide information in the case as a part of an ongoing class action lawsuit that accuses the state of failing to protect children and fix its overwhelmed foster care system. I'm sure they probably get them kind of calls all the time. I'm sure they get those calls a lot. Because notice, whenever stories like this pop up, CPS is always lagging. Always. Black Spider said all that money from the sale of the house is going to the kids because this was an inside job. Totally failure. Can you say lawsuit? You know what? Good point. I truly believe that the money should go to those kids. I mean, why not? And I think the kids should get any money they can milk out of that system. They deserve it. Unfortunately, it's not enough money in the world to get back all of, to regain some sort of, I guess you can say, foundation, considering what they've been going through for months. This is why I said we need an anti-Black hate crime bill, because notice nowhere it has been mentioned that these two have been charged with a hate crime. Even though that's what they were doing. So what is this telling you? That now it is okay to, if you can, adopt a Black child and treat them as a slave, and you will not get charged with a hate crime. You'll get charged with some other stuff, but you won't get charged with a hate crime. I always say when stuff like this happens, like the way that this plays out, you always going to have someone on the back end watching this and going to try to do the same exact thing. Why do you think we have so many copycats with these mass school shooters? Remember what I was talking about with Columbine, the birth of the modern day mass shooter? And then so many happened after that. And who did they draw inspiration from? Them. When Elliot Rodger did what he did, and you had all these other incels do what they did after him, who did they draw inspiration from? Him. So when they don't hit them with the proper charges that they should be hit with, that sends a dog whistle to others who probably contemplated about doing that, thought about it, but didn't act on it. Now this is the opportunity to pull the proverbial trigger. That's why they were so upset with what the outcome was when it came to Derek Chauvin and what happened with George Floyd, because here you have Derek Chauvin, obvious white guy, and he's a cop, and he took out a Black man in the fashion that he did. That was supposed to be business as usual, but there was a turning point because he didn't get away with it. That's why they're so upset about it, even to this day. I mean, just go on X and type George Floyd's name in and just watch the tears overflow. Now, I wasn't going to drop the link today, but I am going to. However, it was somebody else in here that told me that they was from West Virginia. I know Denise is from West Virginia, but it was somebody else in here. The other person that's from West Virginia, can you please let your presence be known? The reason why I'm saying that is because I only want to hear from those two. This is one of those sensitive topics. But I only want to hear from those two. Okay, so I only want Denise and Old School Ebb to come up. Only those two. Just those two. Because they live there, they can give me a little bit more insight about what happened. Okay, Miss Nisi is here. What's going on?
Hey, Torian. Hey, chat.
Hey, how are you?
This story, when it first broke, and I live in the county this happened in.
Mm-hmm.
And when the news broke, it was business as usual, meaning they reported, and that was the end of that. And on to weather. They have not reported.
It was a blip on the radar.
Exactly. The news, and I watch my local news, they have not reported on this since.
I'm not surprised.
No. And like I said, I was born here in West Virginia. And growing up, you never set foot in Sissonville. Never.
Is it like a sundown town?
Yes.
Okay, I can believe that.
And there are no black people who live there. Back in the early 80s, I think it was one black couple there. They had daily cross burnings at that couple's home until they ran them out of town. And I know this for a fact. Anybody black here in West Virginia who live in the greater Charleston area, you don't set foot in Sissonville. You don't. And what's truly demonic about this whole situation, that couple aren't even originally from West Virginia. They're from Washington State.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're not going to put no hate crime on this, even though it's glaringly obvious that their sole purpose was to adopt black children and make them slaves. And the CPS system here in the state is a fucking joke. It was easily for these children to fall into the cracks because we got so many meth babies and heroin babies. They trying to find places for them. Heroin around here is off the charts.
Mm-hmm. I've seen the videos. I think I saw one video on X a while back where this town was so run down it would have gave Owsley County a run for its money. And when they were driving, they said from where they were at, because it was like they were doing a documentary. They said from where they were at in that particular town, it took about 30 minutes to get to the closest Walmart.
Well, I don't even know how to articulate this. You know my stance. I have never agreed with interracial adoption, especially white couple, black children. That's disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking this way to keep myself calm, but don't mistake my tone. I'm so pissed. I'm crying right now because this hurts my soul. It truly does. I got to drop off, Tori, and I'm too upset to continue speaking. I'm sorry.
No problem. I appreciate you coming up, Miss Nisi. Sunshine Goddess, I saw that you said that you currently don't live in West Virginia, but you are from there. I did have the link of this, so if you want to come up, you can go ahead. And I saw the message that you old school Eb, I saw you said that you wasn't able to come up. Goddess, what's going on? Goddess, if you are there, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. B1 salute to you, brother. Thank you for bringing forth this story again, because we know that they like to bury any type of inhumane acts that are formed against us, especially by the ruling class. And this should have been world news, all over the news. But they want to villainize and dehumanize anything that Black Americans do, and blow it out of proportion. If a mother went into a store and happened to let her children stay in the back seat and in the store for 2 minutes, and if someone of another complexion happens to call it in, they're taking their children into protective custody. We know that this is the modern day of child trafficking. Pretty much is what PCP, protective child custody, is to me, because most times they wrongfully remove children away from parents, loving parents and family, and don't give them back into loving families and parents, and particularly that of Black Americans. And usher them out to other ethnicities, knowing that this child will be mistreated because of the conception and notions that these other ethnicities, particularly Caucasian ethnicity people, have against Black American children, is more of a fad, a fantasy, some type of fetish, and they often do harm and wrong against the children that they are adopting. And the abuse that they do to the children, psychological abuse and the physical abuse, and downright to two heinous cave beasts like these, who sit up there and subjugated children, Black American children, foundational Black American children, into modern day slavery. This was nothing short of crimes against humanity. They treated these children as if they were in Guantanamo Bay. Lord knows the true atrocities that was done to these children. I think they need to dig further, because I'm sure it's a lot more than just them locking them in the cage, because these are two sick puppies. And this should have been a hate crime, flat out, pure, period, clear across the board. This should have been a hate crime. This is why we need our protections, our tangibles. We need our reparations. We need our Black American or foundational Black American hate crime bill passed nonstop, because we are truly subjugated and targeted and mistreated in this country day in, day out. Not only do we have the historical presence of why we should have our protections, but also the modern and current day contingencies that we have to live through and go about our daily lives within this country. And I know you have others to come up and speak. I'll wrap it up by saying this, that these people had the complexion for the protection, and you had a pretendian reciting over this, and it didn't get looked at properly like it should have. And it's just a crime to me. And there's no way that these people should be out smiling and get to enjoy their freedom in their time. At least they should have got 50 years to life imprisonment, or worse. So that's my stance on it. Thank you, brother. Salute. Peace.
I'm gonna definitely keep my eye on this story because they said the trial for these two is set for September, and we gotta like make sure we really keep a reminder to ourselves because it's practically it'll be July tomorrow. A lot of stuff is going to happen between July 1st and September the 9th. It'll be very easy for this to get lost in the shuffle. All right, the last person I'm gonna bring up today is LB. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Torian? So, I remember doing this story a couple days ago, and there was a couple things that stood out to me. I don't know what was, I don't know to what levels, to what was covered. So, if I regurgitate anything that you already said, I apologize, right?
Mhm.
But my thing is, why weren't they investigating them in Washington State? Because remember, these people, these reprobates, moved from Washington State to West Virginia, and they're able to sell both their houses to be able to pay their bill the first time. And then when it was, I don't know, discovered that they might have gotten this money through illegal means, they pulled the bond back and then doubled the bond to $500,000. But my thing is, they shouldn't have gotten bond at all. They should have been in prison until their trial date, which comes up in September. And then the way these poor kids were treated, there was 5 of them, 16, 14, 11, 9, and 6. And they treat them like dogs. They didn't give them no
Hold on, no. Worse than a dog, because they love their pets. Worse than a dog. They wouldn't treat their dogs like that.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. They got treated worse than a damn dog. It's like, so you don't give them no place to wash themselves, no place to use the bathroom. You just lock them up in the shed and then put a camera in the to watch their every movements or whatever like that. I mean, when you the thing was it was so irritating to listen to this, to see this, and then when they got confronted by the cops, you had the lady have the audacity to talk about what they like who likes being locked up in the shed, and you working long hours, hardly no food, you're not allowed in the house.
Yeah, and there's no conditioning in there, like no like central air units. So you got to think they caught them in October. We don't know when they got these kids or how long they've had them. So this definitely was going on for months. And you got to think there's 4 seasons in a year. Imagine if they had them since the summertime and they had to be out there in that shed or in that barn in that heat. It's already hot outside as it is. And when you close them into a space like that, that holds in all that heat and it makes it even hot. Now it's even hotter. And they said they were out there for 12 hours, like a day, literally a whole day. They would only see, no, not 12 hours. They said they didn't see the parents. Well, I don't want to call them parents, the people that snatched them. They called them, they didn't see them for 12 hours. They said they came at 6 a.m., gave them something to eat, and then they didn't see them for another 12 hours.
And then another thing in play here, right? So, I mean, I really don't know how the process works about like, checking on the welfare of the children when you go get them for foster care or whatever like that. But I'm pretty sure they're supposed to, go to the house every so often to check on the welfare of the children or whatever like that. I might have to do some digging about that. I might have to talk about that in another video, but I'm pretty sure they're supposed to go to the house, expect the children, check on the welfare of the children every so often. And for that to go down for as long as it did, for them to be, and there's all these charges that's not in play here. There should have been human trafficking charges, because remember they left from Washington State to go to West Virginia. So I'm pretty sure that crap was going on in Washington State.
Oh yeah, I think it was something shady going on there, because that's a huge move. Like they said they sold an 80-acre a house for $725,000 that sat on 80 acres and went from Washington to West Virginia. That's a huge move that you made. So you're right. Hopefully they do investigate what was going on when they were in Washington and why they sold that house. What was going on over there? What were y'all doing out there?
Right. So, and to be honest with you, Tori, I know the kids right now with the with with the state or whatever like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
the same state that was lacking. That's why I was like, oh my God. So you basically put them in the hands of the people that was supposed to be protecting them.
Exactly. That was my point. I was like, I mean, can we really trust them? Can we really trust the state? Or well, they got proper adequate based on what? And who's taking care of them? Because for all we know, whoever's supposed to be quote unquote taking care of them, they might be doing some diabolical stuff to them too.
Right. That's a scary. That's the scary part about it.
So I don't trust none of it. I mean, kids got blisters on their feet. No telling what kind of diseases they might have accrued when being treated like that. And it's like, man, it's like, oh, and the fact that they got bailed the first time was even more maddening. So you allow these people to get out there and do whatever else to whoever else. But if you're a black person, though, you get a crime projected onto you, and you do life in prison.
Exactly.
Some woman will come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, this man touched me the wrong way." I don't know if you did the story yet, but Terrence Shannon Jr., the college basketball player, but that happened to him. Some girl out of nowhere just come up and say, "Yeah, he digitally touched me," and this man was on the verge of losing his career in the NBA. And it took a whole bunch of other people and video evidence to finally exonerate him. Mm-hmm. But that just goes to show you where the lies of a white woman can get a black person put in jail and get his name smeared and all this other stuff. But yet, black people can actually be victimized by something, and then it takes all this long, drawn-out investigations and all that before something finally turns out. It's just maddening and disgusting. But anyway. Good that you covered this, Tori. As always, man, it's good to see you cover these type of topics because it needs to be talked about more.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man. Salute.
Shout out to LB for coming up. And Sunshine Goddess, if you can hear me, it says devices not connected on your end, so I can't bring you up as long as that's there. So I don't know if you have to connect, maybe if it's an audio or a sound thing. But I can't bring you up if those are not connected. And I'm looking at the comments as y'all was typing them. That, like I said, that's a very suspicious move to me to go from Washington State. And then Denise said that the town they were in Washington was very small because it only had a population of 1,103 people. So that was a rural area. So, yeah, I think there's more to this, and I think they should really, really extend that investigation like prior to them moving to West Virginia. And like someone else said, why did they move to West Virginia of all things? And then to that part of West Virginia, too. It's not like they moved to a populous area. They went to a more run-down part. So they could probably, of course, hide what they were doing. So, yeah. All right, Sunshine, I don't know what's going on, but it says your devices are not connected, so I cannot, unfortunately, bring you up, although I wish I could have heard from you because you, too, lived in West Virginia. I don't know if it's an error on your side or what, but I appreciate you for trying to come up. But hold on, before I go to the next thing, because I said I had one more thing I had to show y'all. Shout out to Neo Panther for the 5. He says, we need to make adopting our children a major priority. Even Black organizations should be doing it. These grafted devils think our children are pets. Definitely.
When you're successful, you got new friends like Benjamin, Ulysses, and my favorite, Woodrow.
I appreciate that. It was actually a story where it was this Black father. It was a couple. It was a Black couple, I think down there in Florida, of all states, that adopted this family, and all of the siblings just happened to be all in the same foster program. they were all there, all biological, and they adopted all of them. I think it was like 5 or 6 in total. And that's hard because, you know, sometimes they're not going to allow you to get the whole family. They're going to let you get 1 or 2 and not the rest. But they fought hard and they managed to adopt them so they can keep them all together. Happy ending at the end of the day. But before we get out of here, I remember I said that I had a message for my patrons on Patreon and any of those who want to be subscribed to my Patreon. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So y'all about to, for those of y'all who are not on Patreon, y'all about to get a little sneak peek of something right quick. So yes, y'all can see my Patreon is right here. And what I wanted to do was show y'all how the True Crime Sunday thing is going to work. So if y'all are, first off, put a 1 in the chat if you are subscribed to my Patreon. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you are subscribed to my Patreon. I know it's a few of you in here. All right, so Haxon, I know you subscribe. You be sending me stuff all the time. So Haxon, we got Kendall. I know Denise is on there as well. I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to get a slight head count. Cosma is on there too. Shout out to Black Spider for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Logan, West Virginia. Okay. Never heard of it. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Tawana is on there. Reparations Nation is on there as well. Okay. So how I'm giving y'all a little rundown now of how it's going to go going forward as far as the True Crime Sundays. And what I've been doing is I've been downloading my old ones and uploading them like every other day so they can be under the tier and all of that good stuff. So as you can see right here, let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see it a little bit better. Y'all are getting a tease now. So now y'all about to find out what the True Crime Sunday is going to be this upcoming Sunday, which is on the 7th. It's going to be about the Night Stalker. So what you'll do is if y'all are on Patreon, y'all will see it right here. It says live stream powered by Crowdcast. You see it says capturing the Night Stalker. What you'll do is when you come on there, you'll click watch live stream and it'll bring you to this page here. And as you can see, it has a countdown, 6 days, 23 hours, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds and counting. So when you come to this page, you'll see this right here. It has the thumbnail, the date, the time, the title, and the little synopsis that I wrote. Patreon only. So for those of y'all who coming over, you have to be subscribed to the Patreon in order to do it, which is the $3 tier. It's a 7-day free trial. So anyone who wants to join it, they can join it and they can get the 7-day free trial under that one. Then what you will do is you will click save my spot. So when you click save my spot, you're going to click continue with Patreon because you're already linked in with the Patreon. Then when you do that, it'll say continue with Patreon, and then it'll say Crowdcast would like to. It says Patreon identity info, which is just your stuff that's on Patreon, your email addresses, which is what you use to sign up with, and all of that stuff. And then you'll click allow. Now, if I click allow, it's going to take me right to something called the green room because that's where I'm at. That's because I'm the host. But for you, it'll take you right to the chat. So I just wanted to run that down for all of my people that are on Patreon and for anybody who plans on joining Patreon. But that is where the True Crime Sundays are going to be occurring from here on out because of, the issues on here. So if you are on my Patreon right now, I would highly suggest that y'all do what I just suggested. That way, when I go live, you'll get the email notification that's saying, oh, Torian Rain is going live on Crowdcast. And what I'll do is I'll post the link in the chat just in case anybody wants to join. Again, like I said, it's a free 7-day trial for anybody who is new before the $3 monthly kicks in. I should probably implement I think I'm trying to think if I implemented the 7-day free trial on the other ones as well. because there is a free tier, but the free tier, it just allows you to see like a preview of whatever video it is that I'm uploading. I think that's probably why I didn't implement the 7-day free trial, but that's pretty much how that will work. But with that being said, y'all, I'm about to shut the stream down. I appreciate everybody who came through. Shout out to everybody that came up and spoke about this. Like I said, this is a heavy topic. That's why I didn't want to have too many people come up. I kept it real limited today. I will be going live again tomorrow, but that'll be in the evening. It's going to be an evening stream. And then also, of course, you know, the 11 a.m. premiere video is going to be coming tomorrow. And let me tell y'all something. Y'all came out heavy for that triple P that I did this morning. For some reason, the algorithm loves it when I be talking about AAPI for some reason, because those are ones they love to send the notifications out to everybody for some reason. I don't know if that's a sign or not, but it is what it is. I'll take it in stride and keep it moving. But y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Stay hydrated, stay cool, because it's hot today. I don't know where y'all are at, but it's hot as hell today. Shout out to the replay gang. Shout out to all the mods and all of that good stuff. And with that being said, be safe and be one.